Hi and welcome back to Guessagaingaming. So before I start this video, just a little thought I had, which is a funny thought. If you ever watched any of those videos you get on YouTube with people trying to make news reports and they can't find anywhere to stand because everywhere they stand people are walking past, there's someone doing something in the background, etc, etc. I know exactly how they feel because I've been running around in this game in London for the last minute or two trying to find a place where someone wasn't going to walk in front of me or get aggressive because the NPCs in this game don't like, they behave like normal people. If you get in their face or you stand near them, they push you away or ask what's going on. So yeah, I know how they feel. So here we are in Watch Dogs Legion in North London. We're in about the furthest corner of North London you could possibly get to in Watch Dogs Legion, which is kind of like about Edgware area. Now outside a shop that's not doing very well. I don't think this shop is doing good business, although it might have been air conditioned. That didn't obviously help their sales. Anyway, this video is about sales. It's about the fact that PlayStation are being sued by a Dutch consumer group for overcharging on digital games compared to physical games or physical discs. And before I start, I'm going to make this video based on how I as a consumer look at this. That's all I'm going to do. So for reference purposes, I buy lots of digital games from the PlayStation store, which I've mentioned many times. I usually buy them in sales for cost reasons and because I think there's always so many good games in sales and there's no reason to buy a brand new game. I also buy physical discs, again not new ones, but I buy from eBay or from a store you get in the UK, or stores actually, where there's physical stores where you can buy second-hand games and you can also trade in old games and old movies and DVDs and Blu-rays to get vouchers where you can get other games as well. There's also online places you can buy second-hand games. So I buy second-hand physical discs and I buy PlayStation store deals in digital download. So I buy lots of discounted things basically. It's very, very rare that I buy a new game from anywhere that's not discounted or second-hand. Like I said, if I had loads of money and money wasn't an option, I probably would sometimes, not all the time, but I probably would. But it's much better for me as a budget aware consumer to buy things as cheap as I can get them, really. So firstly, physical discs obviously have a cost to supplying them, and there's a supply cost, there's a marketing cost, there's a manufacturing cost, whereas digital content doesn't. So the fact that digital content would be more than physical is weird. Anyway, I've always thought this because same with movies on Amazon or whatever, you might buy a movie because you can get movies on Amazon. If you look at the prices of new movies on Amazon, they're always more than the physical discs, almost always. So again, the physical discs have much more involved, but they still cost more, which I think is strange. But anyway, so firstly, I'm sure Sony would be very glad to get rid of all physical discs. I'm sure that they would love to. The fact that one of the PlayStation 5 new versions doesn't have a physical disc, I know you can get the additional thing, but it costs more money, and I think we all know that they would love to get rid of physical discs. Obviously it's not possible because some regions probably don't have the options to download digital anyway, and people still want physical discs. But if they could, they would, and they're always leaning towards that because with a digital copy they have much more control of what happens. They can decide to change the user agreement, they can decide to remove the content completely if they want, they can decide to change something about it, whereas with a physical disc, it's your disc. You can do what you want with it and there's nothing much they can do about it. So I think that is a major thing with them, and also they can make more money from digital, and that's why they want to do it, because of course Sony only are interested in making more money. So things that I thought straight away, well, firstly, there's no competition with digital downloads from Sony, so it's a bad marketplace in the first place for that reason, because you know they can do what they want with their digital downloads and there's no comparative site to do it, so they can sell a digital download for whatever they want and there's no competition, and that may be why they end up charging more when games come out, or new games, and that's probably why some games are more than physical discs. And also going back to the second-hand part, which is why I mentioned that earlier, obviously, and this is an important part of gaming, I think, for me and for many people, and it has been since gaming. With physical discs, you can buy second-hand discs, you can swap discs, you can do that. So I think it's a whole marketplace of opportunity for people who are on budgets, whether they be me or whether they be teenagers or whoever they might be, to get games they want either cheaper because they're second hand, or because they can trade in, as I've said, games that they've already got to get new games, or vouchers to get new games. So I think physical discs have a huge variety of things you can do consumer wise, whereas digital doesn't. It's what you get from Sony, it costs this, and there it is. So I think there's a whole different avenues of things you can do with physical discs, and I think it's always important to have physical discs, not for us to have them, but to have the option of them, because they offer a whole different marketplace and consumer experience, apart from whether or not Sony can cut the content or whatever they want to do. Having said that, I think that with digital, I will say that some games come on PlayStation stores that are cheaper in sales than they are ever going to be in physical discs. Of course, some games aren't on physical disc, which is fine because they're indies, or they just don't make a physical disc. It's the same with games on Steam. But the games that are available on both, sometimes games come in ridiculously cheap sales and they just don't get that cheap on physical disc. And also on physical disc, especially when you're buying second hand, but even when you're buying new, you're often just buying base games or some bits of extra content, but you don't get all the DLCs and everything in one go, whereas with digital stuff you can get bundles where you get literally everything that you get. So there are definitely pluses to digital, because like I said, I think that sometimes digital games are dirt cheap in sales, and even games that are expensive as physical disc, and they never really go much cheaper than like £10 physical disc, new physical discs. You can get them cheaper on the Sony digital store, especially in a sale. So it's not all negative, which is why I said I'm going to try and do a balanced view of how I look at it, because I'm the first person to go to sales from the Sony digital store and buy stuff, which I can't get on Amazon because it's still physical discs and they're more expensive. So I think it's a balance. I can't say for sure whether the Dutch consumer group are right. I think they're probably more right than wrong. But as I've said, there are pluses and minuses to both formats. I know what format Sony would prefer. I know which format I think I prefer. But I think there's a need for both, for one, competition, as I've said, but most importantly, and secondly, let's add another one, secondly, because you have much more control and ownership over a physical disc, but I think more than anything, because physical discs offer the second-hand exchange value, which means that a whole different audience can access games that they might not be able to. And I think that's a really important thing in gaming. I think it's been a part of gaming since PlayStation 1. Even before that, it's a really important part of gaming that you can obtain a second-hand copy of something and get it cheaper, and or exchange it with somebody else for their game that's second-hand. And I think that's an important part of gaming that we should keep. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Sony being sued. So I don't know how that's going to pan out. I don't know which way I think it should pan out, and I've not got enough information about how every game is priced to know. As I said, I think the Dutch consumer group are probably more right than wrong, but as I've said, there are definitely bonuses in digital content. Don't know what everybody else thinks, but anyway, thanks for watching. Guess Again Gaming. Till next time, take care for now.